Hey everybody, welcome to another action-packed, exciting episode of Scotty's Record Shop. Before we get into this, I want to just thank everybody who has subscribed and are watching these silly little videos, and I'm glad you're here again. So thank you. Like and subscribe, the usual stuff that everybody always says, help us out. Today's video is going to be a ranking of Aerosmith's studio albums. There's 15 here. I've got a lot of albums downstairs, but we're going to deal with the CDs. It's a little, I don't know. There was one album. Where was it? Okay. No live albums. So even though this is a fantastic collection, live bootleg, that's not in there. But this is this a studio album? This isn't really a studio album, so I'm deciding to not include these early recordings that they made. But this really is a great listen. So and it's available, readily available. Aerosmith in like 1971 or something. It's great. What kind of inspired this was they're going to be releasing at the time of this recording in about a month, a little under a month. They're going to be releasing the first Aerosmith album, which is the first Aerosmith album is going to get reissued, expanded, remixed, and with some extra stuff too. A third disc with Live at Paul's Mall, and if you're an Aerosmith fan, you have Live at Paul's Mall. But supposedly this is going to be from a much better source, and it's going to sound better. And there's some other stuff on there too, some outtakes from the first album, which have never been heard. I have not ever seen too many outtakes, bootlegs of that album. So it'll be nice to hear that. A little expensive though for a 3-disc collection, but I might bite the bullet. But anyway, business at hand right now. These are my personal feelings. These are not, technically the best Aerosmith albums in a row. There are going to be a few hot takes in here. I know there always are. Let me know what you think down below. Be nice about it and be nice to each other. Being pretty much 60 years old, I gravitate more towards the 70s Aerosmith, but I don't hate all of the more recent Aerosmith stuff. We'll get into it. So, at number 15, their second to the last album they ever put out, Just Push Play. This was an interesting album because back in, 2001, whatever it was, this was at the beginning of like the revolution of Pro Tools, and basically Aerosmith had their own little recording setups in their own houses. The only thing that wasn't done at somebody's home was Joey Kramer's drums. They did it on a soundstage to give it a really good sound. But everybody else recorded their stuff at their house. They just had these little modules and just, I've done my parts, let's bring the module over to your house, blah, 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 blah. And for that, it was very interesting and, great sales pitch for Pro Tools. But there's a few good songs on here, but really this is just, Just Push Play. When you hear that, it's like, okay, there's some bands that should not try to be relevant. They just, whatever. Maybe that's a controversial statement in itself, but they didn't do it very well here. There were some things on here that weren't bad, but anyway, my number 15, Just Push Play. My number 14, to me, is a little better. At least they kind of got out of the hip-hop kind of whatever. Was their last album, Music from Another Dimension. Still, they're going for the hits, and they got hits. pop hits, and they're well written and well performed. And I will say that even if I don't care for some of this stuff, these albums are well produced and well written, for the market that they're targeting for. And again, there's some good rock and roll sort of kind of on here, and it's got the hits that they need to be, lack of a better word, relevant. So this is number 14, Music from Another Dimension. Number 13, Nine Lives. Again, this is a little better, obviously. Interestingly enough, just to show you the demand for these things, these were all like, I honestly didn't have these up until a couple, 3 years ago. And I thought, oh, the hell with it. I'm going to just complete my Aerosmith collection. And these were like $2 each. In great shape. It's like, and there was kind of a reason for it. You take all three of these and you take, I could take songs off of each of these and build a pretty damn good album, right? Off of these three. But individually, but there are people that really like this stuff, and I respect that. And if you're a really big fan of, 90s and 2000s Aerosmith, and that's perfectly fine, let me know down there. And if you're a fan of the 70s stuff, don't pick on them. This is their music too, and obviously Aerosmith had a lot of fans in the 90s and the 2000s, and even in the 80s when they went kind of in that direction. So, all right, my first maybe potentially hot take. I have the nerve, the gall to put a 70s album way down here at number 12. When this album came out, we were so pumped for this album. Rocks. The first 4 albums were just fantastic. And I remember my brother getting this record, and we were excited. I mean, I vividly remember, new Aerosmith. We got this. And there were a couple of good songs on here. Draw the Line's good, Kings and Queens. Really good, actually. But there's just a bunch of not so good stuff, and there's a reason for that. I mean, this album was done at a time when this band was having a lot of problems, especially with substance abuse. Steven Tyler once said that this album was aptly titled because they really should have known where to draw the line, and they didn't. Another side note: cocaine and guns don't go good together, kids. Just take it from the band. Guns and cocaine, bad combination. All right, so that is number 12. Number 12. People will kind of be frustrated that I put this one above it. I think that this next album is a little underrated. I think there's some okay stuff considering where this band was. Okay, rock in a hard place. The band was in a bad place. They aptly titled this one too. There was a rock in a hard place. Both guitar players had left. Steven Tyler the whole band that was there was knee deep, neck deep in their addictions. But the two guitar players that they got don't get credit. They kind of get shite on a little bit. They just were here for one album and stuff. I think for what they were given and what they had walked into, I think they did a pretty darn good job. Is this a great album? To me, no, it's not. Lightning Strikes is killer. There's a couple of other really good songs on here. Um, but again, I think that this deserves a second listen, maybe for some people, because we all, as Aerosmith fans, I was disappointed, right? We, a lot of people to this day go, nah, it doesn't even have all the original band members on it. But just give it, there's a couple of really, really good songs on here. So anyway, that's at number 11. Number 11, Rock in a Hard Place. Okay. This album helped me, people, on this one, okay? Because I know I'm not the only person that feels this way. Okay? Honkin' on Bobo. A covers album, basically a blues cover album. This is not bad, okay? This is not a bad album. But there's something, this should have been better. These guys really, they know their shit. They're really good at what they do. They love the blues. I don't know. There's just something when when this came out, I got really excited. It was like, oh yeah. And it was like, okay. It's not bad. I listen to this from time to time. But there's just something, this should have been better. Help me. Maybe I'm just crazy. Be nice if I'm crazy, though. Be nice to me. Some of you, you know what? I've gotten some real smart asses for some of my videos. And, I still appreciate you, because the reality is when you comment, you help the algorithm to pick me a little more. So comment all the way. You may... I used to work on a psych unit. You're not going to hurt my feelings, okay? You're not going to make me cry. I would rather have some nice comments than meatheads. But comment away. If you think I'm nuts because I think this album could be better, let me know. If you think this album could be better and you have the reason, because I sure as heck can't figure it out, let us know. Okay? But a good album. This is not this, okay? We're getting better, a lot better here. So anyway, that was number, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was number 10? Something like that? Okay. Excuse me. Next one, this one I'm going to go to the mats on. I think this is an underrated album. It was a comeback album where Aerosmith tried to rock. They got back together. Some of them had ditched the substance abuse issues. Not all of them by this point, but I think they tried really hard. I think they wanted to bring the band in a hard rock thing. They weren't going commercial until the following year. But I'm talking about Done with Mirrors. This is not a bad album. Another one that kind of gets forgotten about in the Aerosmith catalog. My personal opinion. I think it's good. They took the Joe Perry project, Let the Music Do the Talking. That was the main thing that got played off of this. And I think they did a really good job of it. I really do. I like the Joe Perry project. I like the first Joe Perry project album. Actually, both of them are not bad. And Charlie Farron, who did the singing on that, in that band, great singer. And by the way, a really nice guy. It had a really good band in the 80s called Fahrenheit. Poppy, but commercially, they were a good band, though. But I think Aerosmith does a good job. I applaud the fact that when they got themselves together and got a new record label, which was Geffen, they were like, we're going to come out and we're going to kick some ass. And it just didn't go that well. But commercially, it didn't go that well. But I think that it was a good attempt and well worth a listen. Okay, Done with Mirrors. I believe 9. Their commercial thing happened obviously when Run DMC did Walk This Way, and that gave them in 5-ish, 6. That gave them their little exposure that they really needed, and then they did. We can trash Aerosmith about going pop, but it was an issue of survival. I mean, obviously this wasn't working, and if you think in the mid '80s, you had hair metal, you had the rise of thrash. So boogie rock and roll, kind of blues-based boogie rock and roll, or even with a tinge of hard rock, just wasn't happening, unfortunately. So you either go thrash, which Aerosmith wasn't going to do, hair metal, or you kind of popatize, or whatever. That's not really a word, but get other people to write material, and they did, and they got great success. Good for them. Didn't work necessarily for me, but good for them. All right, one of those albums. We're actually going to get into those albums really now. I think this is a pretty decent album. Get a grip. I love Living on the Edge. I think that's a great song. Eat the Rich is a great rock and roll song. This also, you got your hits, singles, really hit singles. But again, I'm even though it's not my favorite music. This stuff is well played, and really, from a let's write a hit that's catchy and poppy and stuff. Some of the stuff on here really was done well. Obviously, they needed help, but again, it's not that bad. I don't listen to this a hell of a lot, but it's it's still pretty good. Okay. The first of the pop albums. Now, I'm actually going to show both of these. This will be, and then this will be. Okay. I think this is a little better in a way. Put both of these together. This is, again, my opinion. If I could pick a certain amount of songs from this and this, put them on one album, you would have one hell of a great album. If I... Okay, we'll deal with this one first. Okay? Permanent Vacation. Ragdoll is okay. And some of this stuff I was really pissed off. Funny, maybe it's not a funny story, but when this came out, I was in my first marriage, and I had a niece named Amanda. Beautiful little girl. She was like 6 or 7 at the time, I think. She was 6 or 7, and she comes over to the house with her mom to visit, and she's like, Uncle Scott, because she knew I love music. Uncle Scott, I just discovered this really cool new band. And I was like, really, Mandy? What's up? Who is it? And she said, Aerosmith. And she said, dude looks like a lady. Is so cool. And I went, really, huh? That's great. Why don't you come with me, sweetheart? And I vividly remember my first wife and her sister sitting at the kitchen table, chuckling, going, oh, God. Because they knew what was going to happen. And they had this little music area. It was a walk-in closet, which basically was a wall of speakers. Shut the door behind us, brought her in there, and put on Toys in the Attic, and cranked it. And she came out of that room with her eyeballs up in her head, just like, wow. And of course, my wife, first wife, and my sister-in-law were both like, oh God, we knew this was going to happen. And I haven't seen Amanda for a long, long time. I haven't seen her for 30 years, 35 years, whatever. But she's probably still an Aerosmith fan, and I guarantee you she remembered that moment. But anyway, Permanent Vacation. Angel, I really like Angel. I don't know why, but there's some great stuff on here, and there's some okay stuff on here. Now, Pump. Although I appreciate the message with Janie's Got a Gun, I do not like that song. I just. But I'll tell you, I'm broken record here or broken CD. The production on this and the playing on these albums. That's one thing that I really like about this album. Is damn, this sounds good, and the playing and the instrumentation and the little bit of psychedelia that's kind of plugged into this at some points is great. You know, Love in an Elevator. There are parts about that are very whoa, yeah, which to me is like, did you get Mutt Lange in there? You know, because this is like Def Leppard, but that was kind of what was going on in the mid to late 70s. That kind of anthemic, you know, everybody can go, whoa, yeah, or whatever, you know. To me, that kind of was like, oh, God, it's kind of cringeworthy a little bit, chalk on the fingers on the chalkboard. But, again, there's like in Love in an Elevator, damn, that was a well played, well produced, and to be honest with you, a well written song. You know, it's. I think really my problem with some of these songs, especially here, is their kind of 80s, not necessarily, well, production, yes, but more arrangements. How's that? The arrangements at times. Again, this was a damn good sounding album. And there's some good stuff on here, too. So it is there at number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6. Pump. Hot take time, kids. I know this is going to be a hot take. I know this is going to trigger people. And this is a sentimental thing for me. Some of these things are not just, this was a great album and I'm looking at what Aerosmith could do and how popular they were or whatever. This goes way down for some people. But at the time, this was the first studio album by Aerosmith that I personally bought. Everything else was my brother buying records, and we, you know, from well, I'll get into that in a minute, from when I first really discovered Aerosmith with my brother. But this was the first studio album that I got. I did buy Live Bootleg when it came out, and that's a great live album. But anyway, Night in the Ruts. A lot of people this is a hard album. They were falling apart. I mean, it was a mess in the studio. This was a mess. But I just remember listening to this and listening to this and listening to this and thinking it's a lot better for me. Obviously, a lot better than Draw the Line. And listening to Live Bootleg kind of brought me back into how great that band was. So when this came on, you got, you've got 3 Mile Smile, Reefer-Headed Woman, Walking in the Sand. Some people like, ugh. I dig that, and some people joke about the name of this. It's Night in the Ruts. Some people switch some letters around and then it becomes Right in the Nuts. Ha 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 ha. And I even did that. But I don't mind this record. I really don't mind. Obviously, if it's at number 5, is it their greatest work? Does it belong in the same category as the next 4? No. But it's still a damn good listen. So, at number 5, Night in the Ruts or Right in the Nuts, depending on how you want to do it. Okay? These next 4, hard for me. I have such a kind of an emotional bond to these records. And I was looking, going, okay, how am I going to do this? Because I genuinely love all of these records. It is what it is. I'm going to do it before I change my mind. Okay? Number 4, their debut. It hurts to put this at number 4 because I absolutely love the rawness of this record. To me, this feels like they went into a studio hung up a bunch of mics, got a couple cases of beer, and just ripped it. And just pounded this album out. Now, the only difference probably to the recording of this, it probably wasn't a case of beer. It was probably a few 8 balls of cocaine. I heard there was a lot of cocaine involved in this studio situation. And the guy that produced this apparently was so messed up that he kind of just let the band go, amok. I think they did a great job. I know that Aerosmith goes, yeah, it was an okay beginning, but we didn't really hit our stride until Rocks. It's like, I love this album. Did not find this album until probably 74, 75. My brother finally got a hold of this. Great album. I still love Dream On. Overplayed to death. I still love Dream On. I love everything on this album. Walking the Dog. Make It. Even Moving Out. You know what I mean? Just a damn good album. At number 4. Number 3. Oops. This could be, for some people, number 1. Depending on the day, I don't know if it would be I don't know. Tough. This is, again, like I said, these top 4 are just like, oh, God. We're going to go with Rocks. Such an appropriately titled album. This album kicks ass. This is probably their heaviest album. I absolutely love the drum sound on this album. It is so big and so... This is one of their best, maybe even their best sounding, sonically, album. For me, it just sounds so big and so badass. And what's there not to love about this album? Really kicks off with Back in the Saddle and even ends with Home Tonight, which is, they were doing ballads, power kind of ballads. You get, at the beginning, Aerosmith was Dream On, Seasons of Wither from the second album, You See Me Crying from Toys, and here it's Home Tonight, which is a great song. There's not a bad song on this album. 5-star. I mean, this stuff right here, 5-star for me. 5-star. Just aren't going to get any better than that. So at number 3, Rocks. And it does. Number 2. Okay. I like I've said before, hard to put these in order. I think number 1 was probably the easiest one. This is not just a great album, but sentimentally, this is where my brother and I got into Aerosmith. Get Your Wings. 8 years old, 8, 9 years old when this came out. Brother brought this home, put it on, and we were both like, damn, this is good. This was getting a little airplay here. I'm up in Maine. So in New England, this is our band, right? So Same Old Song and Dance was getting played on our rock radio station up here at the time. And I think that's probably what motivated Randy to go buy this. I'm so glad he did, And this was just was great. It was just a great album. It is a great album, and I know a lot of people put this really high. Maybe they put Rocks above this, and maybe Rocks is a better album. Rocks probably is a better album than this, but I have to include my sentimental connection to this, and knowing that this was the very first album that I ever heard. When it came out, it just gives it that extra little. So at number 2 for me, Get Your Wings. Okay, number 1, I think it just is, and I've just always loved this album. I'm talking about Toys in the Attic, kids. I don't know. I just love this album. You start off with Toys in the Attic. It just pounds, right? Aggressive. And again, heard this when it first came out. Our local station here, WBLM, was playing this, or some of this in '75, and I do remember them playing. "Walk This Way," even though it was not a hit. It didn't become a hit until 1977, believe it or not. But this has got some great stuff on it. I just love this album. My favorite Aerosmith album. Not their best, but my favorite Aerosmith album, Toys in the Attic. Let me know what your favorite Aerosmith albums are. Again, are you a big fan of the 80s and 90s and 2000s stuff because you're probably younger? That's not bad. Speak your mind. It's wonderful. There's some music there that, like I said, well produced, really done well. They had some big hits. Good for them. If you're an old fart like me and you dig this stuff, man, let us know. What do you think is the best Aerosmith album? What do you think is the worst Aerosmith album? Let us know in the comments. And while you're at it, again, remember to like and subscribe. Please, please, please help this channel grow. I know I'm inconsistent. I'm not one of these dudes that puts out a video every day. I don't know when the next video is going to be. Hopefully soon, right? I hope so. I have some plans. Also, just for the hell of it, is there something that you'd like me to do? I can't guarantee you I'll do it. I mean, I don't have complete discographies by everybody. But if there's a suggestion you guys want, I'm open to that too. Let me hear you, okay? All right, my friends. Until next time, everybody. Peace and love.